then the rest of the story is up to you. You know, angels come in many forms. And in fact, sometimes we don't even realize that they're around us. I had an opportunity yesterday, in fact, if you remember last week, I spoke to the mountain man. In fact, it still just baffles me how I felt called to go buy him that hot chocolate and that donut at Doughnut Connection. Did you hear that Doughnut Connection? You're on again. It pondered in my mind all week long. And in fact, I didn't understand it again yesterday. But I spent 3 hours with him yesterday in that Walmart parking lot. There he was, standing out in front of Doughnut Connection, again, in his new spot. And for those who weren't here, Mountain Man is that real tall guy with that plaid suit with that long beard. He doesn't have long hair, so he's not an angel of Satan. So I did check. He took his hat off. That was a good thing. He's bald just like me. But anyways, he brought so much joy to my heart yesterday as I got to know him. In fact, I got to know him so well yesterday, he does have a real name. It's James Francis Becker. He lives in 3 states. He lives in Pennsylvania, New York, and Ashland, Ohio. Who would have ever thought that this man would land here? It's interesting, one of our family, in fact, I heard another story today that another family member from here had made a phone call up to Walmart. And I'll tell you how Mountain Man told me to react to Walmart. In fact, our first instinct would be that Walmart threw him off the property. In fact, he made it very clear he's not permitted in their parking lot, in their building, nothing, because they threatened to arrest him if he ever came back on their property. Now, you would think that we would say, oh, just boycott Walmart. Okay, sounds like a great idea. And he brought it up before I could even bring it up. He said, you know, many people's reaction has been that they should boycott Walmart. And in fact, I've been telling people, don't you dare. He said, because when you do, you are giving in to the devil himself. And in fact, he said, what you're doing is taking jobs away from people. In fact, he's so concerned about others to make sure that they have a job. He said, you know, when you boycott something, you take away the jobs of the people that need that money to take care of their families. Here's a man who could be distressed, upset, mad, but what's he doing? He's saying, keep on, keep going. And in fact, he said, the spot that I'm in now, God has blessed me more than when I was at the front door of Walmart. He said, I've had more people come over here. And in fact, he turned around and he pointed at all the shops that were in that little strip mall. And he said, all of these shops, all of the managers have come out and told me I can stay right here. I am welcome in this spot. And he said, I'm farther blessed to be here than over there. You know, it's kind of interesting because if you hear the story, and I'm going to read a letter to you at the end of my message today, the reason that they kicked him out, and I bring this up, the reason they kicked him out is because he was saying, God bless you. They felt that the songs that he was singing were too religious. Wow, where have we heard this stuff from? You know, we wonder why God's not in schools. We wonder why God's not here and not there. We keep pushing him out. You know, it was just kind of interesting talking to him. He didn't become discouraged. In fact, I have to share this story with you. It melted my heart as I watched it yesterday. Here I am. I pulled up the opposite direction. I'm sure the cops could have come and given me a ticket, which I would have paid it happily, because I was parked the wrong direction in the lane coming the other way. Had my flashers on, and here I am talking to Mountain Man in the car. And he's standing outside. And in my discussions with him, the next thing I hear is this child running across the parking lot, coming out of the GameStop, I think is the store. This child is just bolting across the parking lot. Santa Claus! Santa Claus! He's probably not even 3 years old, and runs right up into his arms. And what does he do? Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas, which everybody that's ever watched him, that's what he does. And this child had this smile on his face. So he bends down on a knee, puts the child on his knee, asks him what he wants for Christmas. And Mom came over and was taking photos and snapshots, and cars are driving by and honking and waving their hands. You know, he's right. He's in a much better spot. Because as I sat there in that 3 hours, I can't tell you the number of cars that had driven by, rolled down their windows and said, Merry Christmas to him. They made it a point to do that. In fact, while I was there, I said, hey, I'm going to run over to Subway. Do you want me to grab me a sandwich? He said, no, it's okay. Because as I did that, a lady pulled in and had gone to Wendy's and just out of the blue picked him up a couple sandwiches and some chili and brought it over and gave it to him. And of course, he ran over to the car, he got it, ha, 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 and sang her a little song. And then another guy pulls up in a van, just literally stops his van, runs over to him, a grown man, and gives him the biggest hug I've ever seen. Could you imagine that picture? And as I watched that, and I watched people react around him, I'm in disbelief that many people would be offended at Walmart to say and complain, he's too religious. He's weird. Well, Jesus was weird. We're weird. We're Christians, okay? But our love for God, if that's weird, then I'm glad to be weird. How about you? This leads me to Matthew chapter 25. Let's open our books for the last verse to go to today. Matthew 25, and then I'll finish up. I wanted to tell you that story about Melanie. That was just awesome. I got him another hot chocolate because I asked him, I said, I can't leave here today without giving you something. He said, you've given me joy in my heart. I said, no, that's awesome that we did that, but you've got to have something warm to drink. You can't be freezing. So he let me go to Doughnut Connection. Has great chocolate. I hope they get to see that. That's the best, wow. So you're going to get the Doughnut Connection. Good donuts, good hot chocolate. Let's go to Matthew 25, verse 31. Verse 31. But when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, and you heard that, with all the angels with him, then he will sit upon his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered in his presence, and he will separate them as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those on the right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you for the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Then let's go to verse 45. And he will answer, I assure you, when you refused to help the least of these my brothers and sisters, you were refusing to help me. And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous will go into eternal life. Hear that word, 45, and he will answer, I assure you, when you refused to help the least of my brothers and sisters, you were refusing to help